In the heart of nature's grandeur lies a chilling darkness. For the next 2 hours, we'll uncover the most disturbing cases of hikers who mysteriously vanished without a trace in national parks. Join us as we delve into these mysteries that have left families and investigators baffled.
Kevin Race was a man who seemed to have it all: successful business, a love for the outdoors, and aspirations to make a difference in the world. Yet beneath the veneer of success lurked shadows of turmoil and uncertainty, waiting to engulf him in a web of mystery and speculation. Born and raised in the town of Woolwich, Maine, Kevin Race grew up surrounded by the rugged beauty of nature. His childhood days were spent exploring the woods, forging trails, and immersing himself in the wilderness that called out to him. With his towering frame, piercing blue eyes, and a mop of brown hair tousled by the wind, Kevin was the perfect picture of an outdoorsman, a man in harmony with the earth beneath his feet and the sky above his head. As he grew older, Kevin's passion for the outdoors only intensified. He yearned for adventure, for the thrill of scaling peaks and traversing rugged landscapes. Yet amidst his wanderlust, he found grounding in the world of business. Together with his business partner, David Bird, he founded Custom Cordage LLC, a company specializing in rope manufacturing. Through dedication and hard work, they turned their modest venture into a thriving enterprise, providing quality ropes to adventurers and craftsmen alike. However, success came with its own set of challenges. Behind closed doors, rumors of financial discrepancies started to circulate. Allegations of embezzlement hovered over Kevin like a dark cloud, casting doubt on his integrity and jeopardizing everything he had built. With a looming civil lawsuit and an impending court date, Kevin stood at a crossroads, uncertain of the path ahead. With a heavy heart and a mind weighed down by impending trouble, Kevin prepared to embark on his journey in the crisp September air. Amidst his fear and shame, he left behind a note for his loved ones before leaving his home. The note conveyed his destination, Mount Washington, and in shaky handwriting expressed his search for his final resting place. These words, coupled with his troubled situation, felt like a forewarning, a premonition to those who knew and cared for him. In the days following Kevin's disappearance, his family and friends were haunted by those words, grappling with the chilling reality that their beloved Kevin had vanished without a trace. His car, discovered at the base of Mount Washington, shed no further lead regarding his whereabouts. As time passed and the days turned into weeks, then months, the search for Kevin intensified. Law enforcement agencies, search and rescue teams, and volunteers from near and far joined forces in the effort. Yet despite their relentless efforts, the rugged terrain of Mount Washington proved unforgiving, its secrets shrouded beneath a veil of mystery. Following Kevin's disappearance, whispers of foul play and conspiracy began to spread, casting a shadow of suspicion over those closest to him. His business partner, once regarded as a trusted ally, became entangled in a web of accusations and recriminations as the truth about the alleged embezzlement surfaced. Speculation ran rampant. Some speculated Kevin orchestrated his own disappearance to evade legal repercussions, while others fear he met a tragic end at the hands of people who marked him for death on the mountain. Meanwhile, Kevin's family endured the agony of uncertainty, holding on to the hope that he would eventually come back to them safe and sound. However, as months turned into years, that hope gradually faded, replaced by a profound sense of emptiness, a constant reminder of Kevin's absence and the unanswered questions that lingered in their hearts. Kevin Race's disappearance would be remembered as a cautionary tale, a story of a man overtaken by his inner struggles, adrift in the wilderness he once admired. Yet amidst the darkness of tragedy, a faint ray of hope persists, a hope that someday the truth surrounding his disappearance will come to light. It was February 13, 1983, when Rudy Moder, a 27-year-old ski mountaineer from West Germany, set out on a solo trek into the wilderness. Rudy's journey began with a sense of excitement and anticipation. With his skis strapped to his backpack, and a map of the park's trails in hand, he left the Zimmerman Lake trailhead on the west side of the park. His destination? Thunder Pass, a remote and challenging terrain known for its breathtaking vistas and treacherous conditions. As Rudy ventured deeper into the backcountry, he was enveloped by the serene beauty of the Rocky Mountains. The crisp mountain air filled his lungs, and the crunch of snow beneath his boots echoed through the silent wilderness. For Rudy, a seasoned mountaineer with a thirst for adventure, this was paradise. But paradise soon gave way to peril. 6 days passed, and Rudy failed to return from his planned 2 to 3 day excursion. Concerned for his safety, his roommate in Fort Collins, Colorado, raised the alarm, alerting authorities to Rudy's disappearance. The news sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community of outdoor enthusiasts and search and rescue teams. Ground crews, aerial searches, and an avalanche search dog were deployed to scour the park's northwestern perimeter in a desperate bid to find any sign of Rudy. Yet despite their best efforts, the vast expanse of the wilderness remained impenetrable, concealing Rudy's fate. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, hope began to fade. The once bustling search operation dwindled, leaving only the haunting silence of the mountains in its wake. Rudy's family, thousands of miles away in West Germany, clung to the hope that their beloved son and brother would soon return home. But the mountains held their secrets close, refusing to yield any clues to Rudy's whereabouts. For years, his disappearance remained a mystery, a haunting reminder of the dangers that lurked in the unforgiving wilderness. Then, in the summer of 2020, a glimmer of hope emerged from the depths of the mountains. A hiker stumbled upon desiccated human remains while traversing Skeleton Gulch, an area previously scoured during the initial search efforts nearly 4 decades prior. Could these be the long-lost remains of Rudy Motor? The discovery reignited interest in the cold case, prompting park rangers and FBI officials to return to Skeleton Gulch in search of answers. Amidst the rugged terrain and towering cliffs, they meticulously searched for any trace of evidence that could shed light on Rudy's disappearance. And their efforts were not in vain. Alongside the skeletal remains, they discovered ski equipment, apparel, and a few personal effects belonging to Rudy, providing poignant clues to his fate. Yet even in death, Rudy's story remained shrouded in uncertainty. Attempts to match the subject's teeth to Rudy's dental records yielded inconclusive results, leaving officials grappling with lingering doubts. Was it truly Rudy Motor who had met his end amidst the rugged beauty of the Rocky Mountains, or was there more to the story than met the eye? For Rudy's family, particularly his sister, Elfrida Motor Frey, the discovery brought a mix of relief and sorrow. After nearly 4 decades of uncertainty, the confirmation of Rudy's fate provided a measure of closure. Yet the journey towards finality was far from over. Elfrida, longing to lay her brother to rest in their hometown of Friedberg near Augsburg, faced bureaucratic hurdles as the case remained open for U.S. authorities. Despite her desire for a swift burial, the process of repatriating Rudy's remains to Germany awaited the completion of the FBI's investigation. And as the wheels of bureaucracy turned, Elfrida clung to hope that her brother would soon find peace in his final resting place. For Rudy, a passionate adventurer who had ventured into the wild in search of thrills and challenges, the journey home was a poignant reminder of a life cut short, but not forgotten. In the end, Rudy Motor's story transcended borders and time, an example of the power of memory and the quest for closure in the face of the unknown. As his remains traveled across continents, his spirit found solace in the embrace of loved ones, a fitting end to a tale of adventure, loss, and ultimately, resolution. It was about 5:30 a.m. on October 15, 2023, when Ingrid Colleen Lane told her husband, Louis Scuderi, that she was heading to a Buddhist retreat center. Ingrid had been there many times before, especially when she needed some time away for her mental health or simply a place where she could relax and recharge. At 37 years old, Ingrid, who lived in Albuquerque with her husband and their cats, was a bioengineer who worked in scientific research. Ingrid's job was important and demanding. That's why she needed a place where she could find solace and spiritual growth. The woman left her home soon after talking to her husband, driving away in her black 2019 Subaru Impreza hatchback. From here, the details get murky. She drove for a while before hitting Forest Road 144 in the Yemez Mountains, one of the most remote and wild areas in New Mexico, 100 miles north of Albuquerque. Soon after, Ingrid realized she had a flat tire. She flagged down a group of hunters and asked them for help with the tire. The men kindly offered to take Ingrid to a nearby town, but she declined vehemently. The woman told the hunters she was trying to hike to the Buddhist retreat, but she didn't mention which route she planned to follow. The hunters helped Ingrid inflate her tire and then left. 3 days later, on October 18th, Ingrid's husband Louis reported her missing. It wasn't unusual for the woman to go without contacting anyone for a day. 2 days without contact were a little out of the ordinary, but not disturbingly so. By the third day, Louis Scuderi was sure his wife needed help. The police found Ingrid's black Subaru on the very same day. The car was abandoned and had a shattered window. They made an even more baffling discovery inside the car, where they found a burner phone still in its unopened package. Louis was equally confused by this discovery. He had no idea why his wife would have purchased something like that. As such, the burner phone raised troubling questions about what might have happened during those 3 days. Police then found out that the car's rear window had been shattered at the moment Ingrid spoke with the hunters. Even more, the Zen Center confirmed Ingrid had been there 3 days before at about 9 a.m., but they also said she'd left soon after without disclosing her plans. With so many confusing details, authorities could do nothing but search for the missing woman. To make matters worse, the location where Ingrid vanished was remote, high elevation, and far beyond cell phone range. When Ingrid's twin sister and mother arrived in New Mexico to help with the search, a local sheriff told them this was an easy area to get lost in. Search and rescue teams combed the area, but the trail went cold quickly. Dog teams lost Ingrid's scent, indicating that she might have gotten a ride further into the mountains. Ingrid's family was thrown into turmoil. They brought a four-wheel drive truck to access the rugged backcountry, hoping to cover ground that search teams couldn't reach. Ingrid's twin sister took to social media, asking for help and seeking advice. They were especially concerned since Ingrid had been known to suffer from sleep issues and a rare lung condition that worsened in cold weather. Her mental health was also a concern, but the family believed Ingrid still had plans and couldn't have gone up the mountain without meaning to get back. But there were no leads, no suspects, and no answers. As of 2024, Ingrid Colleen Lane is still missing.
March 1st marked the beginning of what was meant to be a journey of self-discovery for 26-year-old Jenny Chen, a resident of Seattle's Wallingford neighborhood. With a backpack slung over her shoulders and a sense of anticipation in her heart, she set off on a 2-month expedition through the vibrant landscapes of Mexico. For Jenny, this trip was not just an escape from the monotony of daily life. It was a chance to explore new horizons, embrace the unknown, and find herself amidst the chaos of unfamiliar surroundings. Born in China, Jenny had always had an adventurous spirit and a thirst for exploring and transcending borders and boundaries. This innate curiosity drew her to Seattle, where she had found solace in the city's eclectic blend of cultures and communities. But as she stood on the threshold of her latest adventure, Jenny knew she was going on a journey unlike any other, a trip that would test her courage, resilience, and faith in the unknown. For Jenny's husband, Jonathan Reinhardt, the decision to let his wife go on this solo expedition was not easy. As he watched her board the plane bound for Mexico, he couldn't shake the feeling of unease that gnawed at his insides. But he knew that Jenny needed this trip and the chance to spread her wings and fly, even if it meant facing dangers beyond home safety. The first few weeks of Jenny's trip passed without incident as she traveled through the bustling streets of Mexico City and wandered at the different tourist spots present there. Her social media posts were filled with snapshots of her adventures, each capturing a moment of exhilaration and wonder. But as she went further south into Oaxaca, the tone of her updates began to change. It was April 12th when Jenny's last message was sent, a brief note informing her friends that she was hitchhiking to Cancun. It was a decision that would prove to be her undoing as she unwittingly stepped into the path of danger. For Jonathan, the days that followed were a blur of frantic phone calls and desperate pleas for help. He contacted government agencies and local authorities, begging for help locating his wife. But his efforts were met with indifference and apathy, as bureaucratic red tape and jurisdictional disputes hampered his attempts to find answers. When Jonathan hired a private investigator, he uncovered the truth behind Jenny's disappearance. Through tireless investigation, they traced her route from Oaxaca to Juchitán, where eyewitnesses reported seeing her hitchhiking by the side of the road. And then a discovery was made. A witness came forward with information about a Corona beer truck that had stopped to offer Jenny a ride. But as Jonathan delved deeper into the mystery, he found himself confronted with more questions than answers. Who was the driver of the truck? And what had become of Jenny after she climbed inside? As the days passed, Jonathan refused to give up hope. He continued pressuring forward, rallying friends, family, and strangers' support. Through social media campaigns and fundraising efforts, he sought to amplify his voice, to demand justice for his wife and closure for those who loved her. But amidst the chaos and uncertainty, one question loomed in Jonathan's mind. What if Jenny was never found? What if she had disappeared without a trace, lost to the vast expanse of Mexico's rugged terrain? The thought was unbearable for Jonathan, a nightmare he could not escape. And so he clung to the hope that Jenny Chen was waiting to be found somewhere out there amidst the chaos and confusion. Until that day, he would never stop searching for or fighting for the truth. Ultimately, it was the only thing that mattered, the only thing that could bring him peace in the face of uncertainty and despair.
In the summer of 2004, the rugged beauty of southwestern China's Yunnan province beckoned to David Snedden, a 24-year-old Brigham Young University student. Taking a break from his study abroad program in Beijing, David embarked on a solo hiking expedition in the Tiger Leaping Gorge area, a place of stunning landscapes and untamed wilderness. On August 14th, with a backpack slung over his shoulders and a spirit of adventure in his heart, David set out into the rugged terrain of the gorge. Little did he know that this would be the beginning of a mystery that would puzzle investigators and captivate the world for years to come. On August 18th, the Chinese authorities delivered devastating news to David's family. They believed he had drowned while hiking in the gorge. However, without concrete evidence or a body to confirm their theory, David's family refused to accept this explanation. Determined to uncover the truth, they traveled to China to conduct their own search, but their efforts yielded no leads. In the years that followed, speculations surrounding David's disappearance swirled, fueled by rumors and theories that ranged from the plausible to the downright fantastical. One theory gained significant traction in the media, known as the North Korean abduction theory. It suggested that the North Korean government abducted David due to his proficiency in Mandarin, English, and Korean. Reports emerged of a Caucasian man resembling David being seen in Pyongyang, North Korea, fueling speculation that he had been coerced into working as an English tutor for Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea. Despite the lack of concrete evidence to support this theory, David's family continued to advocate for his case, seeking assistance from various government agencies and conducting their own investigations. They refused to give up hope, clinging to the belief that David was still alive and waiting to be found. In 2014, a significant development occurred when a Chinese defector claimed to have seen David in North Korea back in 2004. This revelation reignited speculation about David's fate and prompted renewed efforts to uncover the truth. Despite this new lead, the U.S. government faced challenges in investigating David's disappearance due to diplomatic tensions with North Korea. In 2015, they launched a fresh investigation, but their efforts were hindered by the lack of cooperation from North Korean authorities. Despite their best efforts, they were unable to find conclusive evidence to support the North Korean abduction theory. As time passed, David's case gradually faded from the headlines, but the mystery of his disappearance continued to linger. Some believed he may have met with foul play, while others speculated that he had voluntarily chosen to vanish, seeking a fresh start away from the pressures of his previous life. As of today, David Sneddon's fate remains a mystery. His disappearance presents a puzzle that has baffled investigators for over a decade, leaving his family and loved ones searching for answers. Until concrete evidence surfaces, they hold on to hope, yearning for the day when they will unravel the truth behind his disappearance in the gorge.
On October 24, 2019, the crisp air of Victoria's Alpine National Park greeted Niels Becker as he set out on what was supposed to be a transformative journey into the heart of the Australian wilderness. At 39 years old, Becker was no stranger to the beauty of the high country. An experienced bushwalker, he had spent years exploring the expanse of Victoria's backcountry, drawn to its silent peaks and deep valleys. For Becker, the decision to go on a solo expedition into the Alpine National Park was more than just a simple adventure. It was a celebration, a tribute to his love for the wilderness, and a reflection of the man he had become. In the weeks leading up to his departure, Becker carefully planned every detail of his journey, poring over maps and weather forecasts with the precision of an experienced explorer. Equipped with a sturdy backpack and a heart full of anticipation, Becker bid farewell to civilization and stepped onto the trail, his footsteps echoing through the silent forest as he made his way towards the Upper Jameson Hut. The air was cool and invigorating, the scent of pine and earth mingling with the faint promise of adventure that hung heavy in the air. As the day wore on, Becker's progress was steady but deliberate. He paused occasionally to take in the breathtaking scenery that surrounded him, marveling at the sheer magnitude of the wilderness that stretched out before him. For Becker, this was more than just a hike. It was a connection with nature, a chance to reconnect with the land and with himself in a way that only the wilderness could provide. By nightfall, Becker had reached the Vallejo Gantner Hut, a rustic shelter nestled amidst the towering trees of the Alpine National Park. As he settled in for the evening, he sent a brief message to his family, assuring them of his safety and his intention to continue onward to Mount Sterling in the days to come. But as the days stretched into weeks, Becker's messages grew fewer and farther between, his reassuring updates replaced by a deafening silence that left his loved ones anxious and afraid. Despite their best efforts to reach out to him, Becker remained elusive, his whereabouts unknown, and his fate uncertain. The last time Becker was seen alive was by a fellow bushwalker, who stated that he saw Becker near the crossroads, a spot known to travelers for having good radio reception. It wasn't long before news of Becker's disappearance spread throughout the small town of Mansfield, shocking the tight-knit community and sparking a massive search and rescue operation across Alpine National Park. Led by Senior Sergeant Damian Keegan, a seasoned veteran of the Victoria Police Force, the search effort was intensive and thorough, with over 70 individuals, including police officers, volunteers, and search and rescue teams, combing every inch of the wilderness in search of any sign of Becker's whereabouts. But despite their best efforts, Becker's whereabouts were still a mystery, his trail disappearing into the vast expanse of the wilderness like a ghost in the night. With each passing day, the hopes of finding him alive grew dimmer, replaced by the reality of the harsh and unforgiving conditions that awaited those who dared to venture into the wilds of the Australian outback. As the search continued, theories began to emerge about what may have happened to Becker. Some speculated that he had fallen victim to the harsh elements, succumbing to hypothermia or exhaustion as he struggled to navigate the treacherous terrain of the Alpine National Park. Others whispered of foul play, suggesting that Becker may have encountered danger at the hands of another or stumbled upon something sinister in the wild. But amidst the uncertainty and fear that gripped the hearts of those who knew him best, one thing remained clear. Niels Becker's disappearance was more than just a tragedy. It was a lesson about the inherent dangers that were hidden within the beauty of exploring nature. A reminder to us that no matter how much we know of nature, we still have to be cautious. As time passed, Becker's disappearance became more than just a mystery. It evolved into a question without an answer, a story without an ending. As the search party valiantly braved the treacherous peaks of the mountain, they finally found what they were looking for. They looked at each other and, with finality, radioed in to confirm the dread of the missing person's loved ones. They reported that they had found a body at the base of the cliffs near the Ojo del Albino Glacier. And just like that, the frantic search for a missing British hiker in the unforgiving wilderness of Patagonia had come to a tragic end. As authorities rushed to the remote scene, a grim picture took shape. Recent University of Sheffield graduate David Min, just 24 years old, lying lifeless amid the boulders with unmistakable signs of severe head trauma. The adventurous Briton, taking in the breathtaking glacial scenery as part of an epic 7-month backpacking tour across South America, had plunged over 100 feet from a cliff face in southern Argentina's Tierra del Fuego region. A few days earlier, the adventurous Londoner had checked into a hostel in Ushuaia, Argentina, a city often referred to as the end of the world due to its southernmost location. Min was captivated by Patagonia's rugged and sublime beauty, a highlight in his epic 7-month backpacking tour across South America. David was scheduled to continue his journey, planning to leave for Chile on January 21st, staying at the Aonakenk hostel until his departure. The following morning, January 22nd, he left his belongings at the hostel's reception before informing fellow traveler Yuval Jacoby of his intention to go for a stroll. However, he still needs to retrieve his bag upon his return. At approximately 6 p.m. on January 24th, when the traveler failed to make his return, the hostel administration immediately sounded the alarm and informed the authorities about the incident. In response, the authorities immediately initiated a search and retrieval operation in hopes of finding the missing traveler alive. Darkness fell that first night with no sign of the missing Brit. But around 5 p.m. the following evening, a group of hikers made the heartbreaking discovery: Min's lifeless body lying face down on the rocky terrain at the base of a cliff face, miles from the nearest town. While the circumstances surrounding his fatal fall remain unclear, the evidence was undeniable. The engineering prodigy who had earned his degree from the University of Sheffield had sustained severe head trauma, having plunged over 100 feet onto the boulders below. Authorities believe he perished instantly on impact in the desolate, windswept wilderness. Police Chief Alejandro Giordano told reporters that an autopsy was taking place to discover what had happened. But it seemed clear that the hiker met his demise immediately after the fall. While the full details may never be known, his tragic final hike is a sobering reminder of the inherent dangers of venturing solo into untamed frontiers, no matter how meticulous the planning and preparation. It was a brutal end for a life brimming with potential that was extinguished in an instant. As his family began the agonizing process of repatriating his body back to Britain, many struggled with the same haunting question: what led to David Min's fatal fall from the cliff face in the remote wilderness of Patagonia? For now, Min's loved ones are left mourning a son, brother, and friend whose limitless curiosity and passion for seeing the world was fatally excessive. His tragic death is a stark reminder that even the most majestic landscapes can be mercilessly unforgiving to the unprepared. Like the pristine glacial peaks looming overhead, Min's memory will be frozen in time, his ultimate trail reaching a stunning yet cruel conclusion carved into the valleys of Patagonia. An explorer's journey was cut short far too soon.
On July 30th, 2016, Riley Zickel, a young man full of curiosity and a love for nature, embarked on an adventure into the Mount Jefferson wilderness. Riley, a college student studying at Lewis and Clark College, had always been drawn to the outdoors, finding solace and joy in the tranquility of the wilderness. On a warm July day, Riley set out on what was meant to be a short overnight hike, carrying only the essentials: a backpack filled with supplies, a map to guide his way, and a heart filled with excitement. His plan was simple: to explore the rugged beauty of the Mount Jefferson wilderness, to immerse himself in the sights and sounds of nature, and to experience the freedom that comes with being surrounded by towering trees and winding trails. As Riley ventured deeper into the wilderness, he marveled at the majesty of the landscape around him. Towering trees reached toward the sky, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. The air was alive with the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves, and the scent of pine filled his nostrils, filling him with a sense of peace and wonder. But as the sun began to set and darkness descended upon the wilderness, Riley realized that he had lost his way. Panic gripped his heart as he struggled to find his bearings, his footsteps echoing through the silent forest as he desperately searched for a familiar landmark. Hours turned into days, and still there was no sign of Riley. His family grew increasingly worried, their hearts heavy with fear and uncertainty. They alerted the authorities, and soon a massive search and rescue operation was underway. Search teams scoured the wilderness, combing through dense forests and rugged terrain in search of any trace of Riley. Helicopters buzzed overhead, their searchlights piercing the darkness as they scanned the landscape below. Volunteers joined the effort, their determination unwavering as they braved the elements in the quest to find Riley and bring him home. But despite their best efforts, Riley's location remained a mystery. Days passed and still there was no sign of him. His family held on to hope, clinging to the belief that their beloved son would soon be found safe and sound. After many months, Riley's whereabouts remained unknown. His family refused to give up hope, their determination unwavering as they continued to search for any clues that might lead them to their son. Then, in August 2019, a group of climbers scaling the rugged slopes of Mount Jefferson made a startling discovery: a body partially buried in a glacier. The climbers immediately alerted the authorities, and soon it was confirmed that the body was Riley's. The news sent shockwaves through the community, and Riley's family and friends were overcome with grief. They had hoped and prayed for Riley's safe return, but now their worst fears had been realized. The recovery operation was difficult, with the steep and treacherous terrain posing challenges for the rescue teams. But eventually, Riley's body was brought out of the wilderness, and his family was finally able to lay him to rest. The cause of Riley's death remains unknown, but authorities believe that he likely succumbed to the harsh conditions of the wilderness. It was a tragic end to a young life, filled with promise and potential, and Riley's memory will forever live on in the hearts of those who knew and loved him. It was the early morning of August 1st, 2018, when Samantha Sayers left her apartment in Seattle and set out on a journey that would forever alter the course of her life. At 27 years old, Samantha, whom friends called Sam, was a fit woman with a love for the outdoors. Sam could take on any challenge. That Wednesday, she planned a solo hike on the Vesper Peak Trail in Washington State's North Cascade National Park. This particular trail was a challenge for even the most seasoned hikers, its rugged terrain making it treacherous even in the face of experience. But for Sam, it was just another day in her adventurous life. She had hiked the Vesper Peak Trail before. Even more, she grew up going on camping trips quite often. Hiking was in her blood. Before leaving her home in Seattle, Sam sent a quick text to her boyfriend, 33-year-old Kevin Dares, telling him she loved him and letting him know she was going to be back home by 6 p.m. that evening. She left her apartment at about 8 a.m. and drove her blue Ford Fiesta along the Mountain Loop Highway to the Sunrise Mine Road, where one of the paths to the summit of Vesper Peak begins. She parked her car and then signed her name in the Forest Park Registry. She was a calculated individual who didn't like to take unnecessary risks. Sam then started the more than 4,000-foot climb, which lay ahead of her. There were other hikers on the path that Wednesday. Sam wasn't someone you could forget easily, and the other hikers could feel it. On that sunny day, the woman was dressed in a pair of gray workout leggings and a sports bra. She carried a hiking pole in each hand and had a black backpack. Most noteworthy, however, was her bald head, a pattern of stars which had been designed by her mother, Lisa. Sam had been diagnosed with alopecia back in high school and made the conscious decision to always shave her head since she found wigs to be uncomfortable. At some point during the hike, Sam stopped to have lunch alongside another hiker. She enjoyed her sandwich she packed for lunch, then made it to the summit at about 3 p.m. There, she took in the breathtaking views and spoke for a little while to others at the summit. She also checked her phone. She left soon after, choosing to descend the mountain's southwest side. By 7:15 p.m. that night, Kevin Dares, Sam's boyfriend, was already on the road. He knew Sam very well. He knew she was always prepared, that she always stuck to her timeline or let him know if she was going to be late. Kevin had waited anxiously for her to return for about an hour before leaving to search for his girlfriend. He stopped at a gas station along the way to get a flashlight. It was getting dark, and even though he enjoyed hiking himself, he wasn't half as experienced as Sam. He knew climbing the Vesper Peak Trail was going to be hard, but he had to do it. Kevin found Samantha's car still parked at the trailhead. Hours later, Kevin eventually fell on the treacherous trail, breaking his flashlight in the process. It was pitch black, and it became clear to Kevin that he needed help. Desperate and without options, he called 911. The official search for Samantha Sayers began at about 1 a.m. It became one of the most extensive in Washington State's recent history. At first, a team of volunteers and a helicopter equipped with infrared technology scoured the area. Authorities spoke to several witnesses and were able to figure out the timeline of Sam's hike up until her disappearance. In the meantime, Kevin took to social media, where he created a Facebook page and launched a GoFundMe campaign to raise funds for the search. Sam's mother, Lisa, found out about her daughter's disappearance through Facebook and flew to Seattle immediately after. After 22 days of searching for Samantha, with the help of 70 searchers on foot, 14 dog teams, witnesses, and helicopters, authorities ceased the efforts. The budget for the search had run dry, and with no leads, authorities concluded that Samantha Sayers had likely died in a fall. As of 2021, no trace of Samantha Sayers had been found. Sam's mother, Lisa, believes her daughter is still alive somewhere, perhaps a victim of human trafficking. What do you think happened to Samantha Sayers?
It was a scorching summer day in November 1982 when Tony Jones, a 20-year-old man from Perth, went on a trip that would end in mystery and despair. With a backpack slung over his shoulder and hope in his heart, Tony set out to hitchhike from Townsville to Mount Isa, a remote stretch of road known for its desolation and eerie reputation. Tony's decision to hitchhike was not uncommon for a young man seeking adventure and independence. He had been on the road for months, exploring the vast area of Australia's outback, fueled by a sense of wanderlust and a desire to see the world. But little did he know that this trip would be his last. As Tony made his way along the lonely Flinders Highway, he relied on the kindness of strangers to carry him forward. He had called his family from a public phone box on the outskirts of Townsville, reassuring them that he would soon be reunited with his older brother Tim in Mount Isa. However, as the hours passed and Tony failed to arrive, his family's concern grew into panic. Weeks passed, and still there was no sign of Tony. His bank account remained untouched, his belongings untouched, his whereabouts unknown. The vastness of the Australian outback seemed to swallow him whole, leaving only questions and sorrow behind. For decades, Tony's disappearance has haunted his family and baffled investigators. Countless theories have been proposed, from encounters with notorious serial killers to violent confrontations with local thugs. However, amidst the speculation and conjecture, one thing remains clear. Tony Jones vanished without a trace. The circumstances surrounding Tony's disappearance are shrouded in mystery, but piecing together the fragments of his final days offers some insight into the events that may have led to his untimely demise. Tony had only returned to Townsville for a quick pub meal before continuing his trip. He had been hitchhiking around Australia on a 6-month working holiday, and his journey was nearing its end. From Townsville, he planned to hike 90 minutes to Charters Towers, where he intended to spend the night before meeting up with his brother Tim in Mount Isa. But fate had other plans for Tony Jones. As Tony set foot towards Charters Towers, he crossed paths with an older man at the Rising Sun Hotel in Townsville. The man had offered Tony a ride earlier in the day, and the two talked over a meal at the pub. They shared their plans for the journey ahead, with Tony eagerly anticipating his reunion with his brother in Mount Isa. Little did he know that this chance encounter would be his last. Witnesses recalled seeing Tony and the older man leaving the pub together. It was the last time anyone would see Tony Jones alive. The weeks that followed Tony's disappearance were fraught with anguish and uncertainty for his family. They tirelessly lobbied for investigations to continue, refusing to let his memory fade into obscurity. But despite their efforts, Tony's fate remained a mystery. In 2002, an inquest ruled that Tony had likely met a violent end, but failed to identify any suspects. The case remained unsolved, its resolution slipping further from grasp each year. Then, in a chilling twist of fate, a letter arrived with a cryptic message: "Missing person Tony Jones." Inside the envelope was a printout of a Wikipedia page detailing the life of Mervyn Henry Stevenson, a former Queensland police officer who served from 1947 to 1982. Stevenson's connection to Tony's disappearance shocked everyone, raising questions about his possible involvement in the case. Stevenson's career was marked by controversy and allegations of corruption, leading some to speculate that he may have crossed paths with Tony on the night of his disappearance. However, with Stevenson long deceased, the truth may never be known. As the years turned into decades, Tony's family continued to seek closure, their grief compounded by the lack of answers. They pleaded for justice, resolution, and the truth to come to light. What if Tony had chosen a different path that night? What if he had never crossed paths with the mysterious stranger at the Rising Sun Hotel? What if justice had been swift and sure, and Tony's family had been spared years of pain and uncertainty? These questions linger in the air, unanswered and unresolved, as the case of Tony Jones continues to confound and disturb those who dare to delve into its murky depths. And as the sun sets on another day in the Australian outback, Tony's fate remains as mysterious as ever, lost in time forever.
In the rugged terrain of Hawaii's rich natural scenery, Jesse Glenn Pinniger began his journey along the Kalalau Trail. A 23-year-old with a keen interest in adventure, Jesse was well-versed in outdoor activities, enjoying hiking and camping. He was drawn to exploration and the excitement of venturing into unfamiliar territory. Growing up in Utah, Jesse was surrounded by the outdoors from a young age. His family frequently ventured into the mountains, where Jesse developed a profound appreciation for nature. He thrived among towering trees, expansive skies, and untouched landscapes, feeling most alive in their midst. As he matured, Jesse's desire for adventure grew stronger. When plans with friends fell through, he seized the opportunity to embark on a solo journey to Hawaii. In January 2008, he boarded a plane bound for Kauai, leaving behind Utah's familiar scenery for the allure of a tropical paradise. Upon arriving on the island, Jesse rented an apartment and eagerly immersed himself in his new surroundings. He eagerly explored the hidden gems of Kauai, uncovering its mysteries one trail at a time. Yet it was the Kalalau Trail that captivated him the most, a winding path along the coastline that offered stunning vistas at every twist and turn. Jesse had told his family that he would return home after a few months, but as the days turned into weeks and Jesse's absence stretched into months, worry etched deeper lines into his family's faces. When March came and went without a trace of him, his father, his heart heavy with concern, decided to journey to Kauai in search of his son. Upon arriving on the island, Jesse's father immediately set out on a relentless search, driven by his love as a father. He tirelessly canvassed every street corner and storefront, putting up flyers featuring Jesse's smiling face all over Kauai. Despite his unwavering dedication, the island kept its secrets guarded closely, and Jesse remained elusive and out of reach. Months passed and hope began to fade as the trail grew colder with each passing day. But just when it seemed that all was lost, a glimmer of hope appeared on the horizon. A hiker stumbled upon an abandoned campsite near a cliff, 5 miles into the treacherous Kalalau Trail. It was a bittersweet discovery for Jesse's family. On one hand, they were relieved to have a lead in the case, but on the other, they knew that the trail ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty. As they delved deeper into the investigation, they uncovered the dark secrets lurking beneath the surface of paradise. The Kalalau Trail, known for its breathtaking beauty, was also notorious for its perilous terrain and unpredictable weather. Flash floods, crumbling cliffs, and treacherous ocean currents lurked around every corner, claiming the lives of countless adventurers who dared to tread its path. And among those who vanished into the misty abyss were Jesse and several others who shared his fate. Jesse Glenn Pinniger's disappearance is just one chapter in the mysterious history of the Kalalau Trail, but he is not alone. Daniel Marks, Bradford Turek, Atticus Lewis Pearson, Ilya Lomov, Alex Gum, and Pyotr Drabik, they all carried the same fate of disappearing amidst the rugged beauty of the Kalalau Trail. Some speculate that the disappearances are the work of a serial killer, preying on unsuspecting travelers who venture too far from the safety of civilization. Others believe that the trail itself is cursed, its ancient spirits and hidden dangers exacting a toll on those who dare to tread its paths. No matter what's at play, one thing's for sure: these disappearances have left a hole in the hearts of their families. A hole that we can only hope will be filled once they're found.
On a typical Saturday morning, June 5, 2011, David Prideaux, an experienced outdoorsman and the head of Barwon Prison in Victoria, Australia, went on a hunting trip to the Alpine National Park on Mount Sterling. Departing from Melbourne, David's excitement for the adventure ahead was intense as he left behind the city and its urban bustle. His destination was the breathtaking yet rugged landscape of the Mansfield State Forest, a haven for outdoor enthusiasts seeking solace in nature's embrace. Accompanied by his brother-in-law, Rob Dale, the two men set off into the wilderness, excited for a weekend of hunting and friendship. As they drove through the forest trails in David's Land Cruiser filled with camping gear and supplies, they joked around and laughed, getting even more excited for their adventure. Their journey led them to Tomahawk Hut, a rustic cabin located deep within the hills, where they settled in for the night, oblivious to the ominous turn their simple trip would soon take. The following morning dawned with the promise of new discoveries as David and Rob set out to scout for hunting spots, their rifles slung over their shoulders and their senses attuned to the surrounding wilderness. However, things didn't go as expected. When the two men came to a junction in the path and separated, David chose the downhill route while Rob headed up the nearby hill. They had no idea that this simple decision would forever alter their lives. Despite David's expertise and knowledge of the area, he mysteriously disappeared without any trace, leaving Rob bewildered and deeply distressed. Rob's account of the events that unfolded paints a picture of baffling mystery and unanswered questions. According to Rob, after they split up, he went to his planned hunting spot and waited to spot any animals to hunt. Hours passed without any sign of David, prompting Rob to grow increasingly concerned. Rob's concern turned to alarm as he realized that David had not returned to the hut as planned. In a desperate bid to locate his missing companion, Rob went on a frantic search of the surrounding area, calling out David's name and looking at every inch of the terrain. Despite his exhaustive efforts, there was no sign of David, no trace of his whereabouts. It was as if he had simply vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a sense of uncertainty. As news of David's disappearance spread, a huge search and rescue effort began, with police, search teams, and local volunteers joining in. Helicopters flew over the dense forest while ground teams carefully checked every part of the rough terrain. Days, weeks, and even months went by, but David was still missing, and no one knew what happened to him. Despite the relentless efforts of search teams and the determination of his family and friends, there was no trace of David, nor any clue about what might have happened to him that day in the wilderness. In the years that followed, many theories and guesses came up, each more intriguing than the last. Some thought David might have been harmed by someone, while others believed he might have had an accident or gotten lost in the harsh wilderness. However, despite all the rumors and guesses, one thing was clear. The true story of what happened to David Prideaux stayed unsolved, a complex mystery without a clear answer. David Prideaux was more than just a name on a missing persons report. He was a beloved husband, a devoted father, and a respected member of his community. His disappearance left a void in the lives of those who knew him, a lingering sense of loss and unanswered questions that refused to fade with time. For Rob Dale, David's disappearance was a harrowing ordeal that would haunt him for the rest of his days. The guilt and anguish he felt at being unable to prevent his companion's disappearance weighed heavily on his conscience. Despite his repeated assertions of innocence, Rob could not shake the feeling that somehow he was to blame for David's fate. As for David's family and loved ones, the pain of his absence is a wound that refuses to heal. Each passing day brings fresh reminders of the void left by his disappearance, a constant reminder of the uncertainty that surrounds his fate. Despite their best efforts to move forward, David's disappearance still haunts them, casting a shadow over their lives and leaving them to wonder. What if David had never gone into the wilderness that day? What if he had stayed home with his wife and children, safe and sound? The vibrant rainbow mountain stripes attract thousands of awestruck tourists to the Peruvian Andes each year, all eager to behold one of nature's most kaleidoscopic wonders. But this past Sunday, the breathtaking 17,000-foot peak's colorful mineralized slopes became the tragic scene of a lightning strike that claimed the life of a local tour guide and left 6 French hikers injured. As a tour group followed the snaking mountain trail toward the Vinicunca's famed multi-hued crests, a suddenly turbulent afternoon storm rolled in, catching the unsuspecting travelers exposed on the high-altitude pass. A brutal lightning bolt forked from the churning dark clouds in a searing flash of blinding light and thunder. It was like an explosive fireball erupting before the guide and the tourists. One moment they were all marveling at the extraordinary scenery, and then everywhere was enveloped in a terrifying boom and acrid smoke. That's when the group realized the guide was lying motionless on the ground. The tour guide, 47-year-old Glauder Paucarmita Treveno, tragically became the latest victim killed by lightning strikes in Peru's treacherous Andean peaks this year. Despite the frantic efforts of his group to resuscitate him, the force of Mother Nature's fatal jolt proved too devastating. As for the 6 French tourists aged 22 to 40, the lightning burned and jolted their bodies with brutal force. Suffering from flash burns, concussions, and other traumatic injuries, the dazed group had to be evacuated by local emergency crews in a harrowing rescue effort along the remote mountain footpaths. Upon the rescue group's arrival, they immediately saw that the group was all in severe condition after being so close to the lightning's point of impact. Some were barely conscious. Others were screaming out in searing pain from their burns. It became clear to the first emergency responders that the biggest concern was stabilizing them and evacuating from that high altitude as quickly as possible. All were eventually rushed to clinics in the nearby city of Cusco, where doctors worked feverishly to treat the injuries. While 5 of the tourists have since been discharged, 22-year-old Gwenola LaRue remains hospitalized with a severe head injury sustained from the strike's explosive force. As this shocking tragedy continues to make international headlines, the events of that fateful day have cast an ominous shadow over the Rainbow Mountain phenomenon. What was once simply an awe-inspiring natural wonder has now become a stark reminder of the untamed power of the Andes and the potential deadliness awaiting those who underestimate it. So, where does the accountability lie? Were proper weather precautions taken before embarking on such a high-risk excursion? Should stricter safety regulations be implemented for tour companies operating in Peru's mountains? Is pursuing those perfect photographs and scenic vistas worth risking one's life? Only a full investigation into the circumstances may unearth those problematic answers, but the ghastly image of a vibrant mountain landscape one moment and a scene of charred earth, plumes of smoke and immeasurable human suffering, the next serves as a grave warning. Nature's magnificence and fury can never be taken for granted.
In the vast lands of northern Utah's high Uintas wilderness, a man from Melbourne named Eric Robinson embarked on a solo hiking expedition in the summer of 2011. Eric, a seasoned bushwalker with a passion for the great outdoors, had meticulously planned his adventure, setting out from Chipeta Lake Trailhead northwest of Vernal on July 28th. His goal was ambitious yet thrilling, to traverse over 60 miles along the challenging Highline Trail, with the ultimate destination of Mirror Lake beckoning him on August 7th. Eric's journey was not just about conquering the wilderness. It was proof of his love for exploration and his unyielding spirit of adventure. Armed with his hiking gear, a sense of determination, and an Australian flag sticker adorning his belongings, Eric ventured into the Uinta mountain range, ready to embrace the challenges and wonders that awaited him. However, as the days passed and Eric failed to reach his expected destination at Mirror Lake, concerns began to mount. On August 8th, a search operation was launched, mobilizing volunteers, search and rescue teams, and local authorities. The search area encompassed vast stretches of rugged terrain, characterized by steep cliffs, dense forests, and unpredictable weather conditions. Despite the exhaustive efforts of the search teams and the support of numerous assisting agencies, Eric remained elusive, leaving his loved ones and the searchers grappling with uncertainty and worry. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the search for Eric continued, but the vastness of the high Uintas wilderness posed formidable challenges. The rugged landscape, coupled with the harsh environmental conditions, tested the resilience and perseverance of the searchers. Yet amidst the daunting task of combing through miles of wilderness, hope persisted, fueled by the unwavering determination to bring Eric home. Years passed and Eric's disappearance remained an unsolved mystery, haunting the hearts of his family, friends, and the community. The passage of time did little to diminish the fervent desire to find answers, but as the years turned into 5, hope began to wane, overshadowed by the grim reality that Eric might never be found. Then, in the summer of 2016, a ray of hope pierced through the veil of uncertainty when a family from Colville stumbled upon a discovery that would reignite the search for Eric. While exploring near Alsop Lake, the family spotted a peculiar sight amidst the rugged terrain: a backpack partially buried beneath a boulder, accompanied by what appeared to be a tent and scattered belongings. The significance of their discovery was not lost on them, and they wasted no time in alerting the authorities. As news of the discovery spread, renewed efforts were launched to ascertain the identity of the backpack's owner and unravel the mystery that shrouded his disappearance. Upon closer examination, the backpack revealed clues that hinted at its owner's identity: a sealed, bear-resistant can containing provisions, a trekking pole, and a hiking boot containing bone fragments. Among the belongings was a telltale sign: an Australian flag sticker, a poignant reminder of Eric's origins and his indomitable spirit. The discovery ignited a flurry of activity as investigators meticulously pieced together the puzzle surrounding Eric's disappearance. The location of the belongings, coupled with DNA evidence, led authorities to conclude that they finally found Eric after 5 years of searching. The revelation brought a bittersweet sense of closure to Eric's loved ones, offering them solace amidst the lingering pain of his absence. Yet even as the mystery of Eric's disappearance was seemingly solved, questions lingered about the circumstances that led to his tragic fate. How had Eric, an experienced bushwalker, met his end in the unforgiving wilderness of the high Uintas? Investigations revealed that Eric may have ventured into treacherous terrain near Alsop Pass, where steep cliffs and rugged terrain pose formidable obstacles to even the most seasoned hikers. The discovery prompted soul-searching reflections on the inherent risks of wilderness exploration and the profound bond between humans and nature. October 14, 2017 was a sunny Saturday in the Duck Hole Lake track area at Strathplain in Tasmania, Australia. Bruce Fairfax and Louise, his wife of many years, were on one of their little adventures. They loved bushwalking, a passion they've shared since the beginning of their journey together, no matter the hardships. At 66 years old, Bruce Fairfax was a retired teacher who suffered from Parkinson's disease. His symptoms had started a few years before. Bruce was now on daily medications, which helped him lead a normal life and gave him some of his mobility back. That's how he was able to go on long hikes. As long as he got his medication, Bruce was able to follow Louise's lead, but he was no longer able to navigate himself. On that Saturday, the couple chose to hike the Duck Hole Lake track, a lush trail in southern Tasmania, which had always been a favorite of theirs. This particular hike was supposed to be like any other, a peaceful escape into the dense forest they both loved and to a flooded sinkhole. The couple was accompanied by their beloved dog, Tessa. They set off early that morning with Tessa by their side. At some point during the hike, though, they decided to separate. As such, after agreeing to meet up at a lakeside picnic site, Louise went on ahead, while Bruce and Tessa stayed behind, hiking at a mellower pace. As time passed, Louise waited at the meeting point, expecting to see her husband and their pet appear through the trees at any moment. But they never did. Concern turned to worry and then to fear. Something was wrong. Louise was sure of it. She knew she had to raise the alarm and get help. The search for Bruce Fairfax was extensive and reflected just how loved and respected the man was. Police, SCS volunteers, and fellow hikers combed through the dense forest. They used helicopters with thermal imaging technology to scan the area from above. They used a specialist dog to search the bushland area. A team of divers searched the lake but found nothing. Louise was desperate. Bruce wasn't only her husband, he was the father of her 2 daughters, her soulmate, her best friend, and the love of her life. She knew many others in their community felt the loss deeply. During his career as a teacher and deputy head at Church Grammar School in Launceston, Bruce dedicated his life to educating and inspiring countless students. Despite the best efforts of the search teams, no trace of Bruce was ever found. The only clue was Tessa, the dog, who was discovered wandering the trail alone. If only she could speak. The search eventually wound down, but in 2023, 6 years after Bruce's disappearance, the investigation took a new turn. The authorities decided to reopen the case and treat it as a criminal investigation. Police explained that the change in designation would allow them to approach the case with fresh eyes and new resources, but they claimed the decision wasn't prompted by any tips or new information. They planned to re-interview witnesses and conduct another search of the Duck Hole Lake track area. As of 2024, Bruce Fairfax is still missing.
On June 24, 1998, Joanne Butterfield vanished from her Mossman home, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and lingering mystery. At 37 years old, Joanne was a woman with a plan, or so it seemed. With her vibrant auburn hair and piercing blue eyes, she embarked on a journey that would ultimately confound investigators for decades. At around 9 a.m. that day, Joanne was last seen by her loved ones, her presence filled with anticipation for adventure as she prepared to hitchhike south. A free spirit by nature, she had shared her intentions with friends, igniting a glimmer of concern among those who knew her best. Little did they know, this would be the last time they'd see her radiant smile or hear her laughter. As the days passed by, the mystery deepened. Joanne's aspects, including her cherished Tweety bird tattoo adorning her chest and a bluebird tattoo on her shoulder, became ominous clues in a puzzle with no clear solution. Her belongings were discovered in disparate locations, scattered like breadcrumbs along an uncertain path. 3 days after her disappearance, Joanne's possessions were found near a lookout. The discovery shocked the community, raising more questions than answers about what truly happened to the vibrant woman with dreams of distant horizons. In a twist that only added to the mystery surrounding her disappearance, an envelope containing Joanne's Medicare card, bank cards, and personal documents arrived at her Mossman home days later, delivered anonymously as if to taunt those desperately seeking answers. Despite exhaustive efforts by law enforcement, Joanne's fate remained shrouded in mystery. The passage of time did little to lessen the burning desire for closure for her family and a community haunted by the unresolved tragedy. 2 decades later, hope flickered anew as fresh leads reignited the investigation into Joanne's disappearance. Acting Inspector Kevin Goen spearheaded the renewed efforts, spurred by recent tip-offs that breathed new life into a case long considered cold. An investigation in 2014 provided little solace, suggesting the chilling possibility that Joanne met her demise at the hands of unknown assailants. With each passing day, the urgency to reveal the truth intensified. Detectives combed through old leads with renewed vigor, spotlighting 2 individuals who may be vital to unlocking the secrets of Joanne's final moments. Their search for justice led them back to the streets of Mossman, where memories of Joanne lingered. The investigation pressed forward, and despite the passage of years, The hope for closure burned unwaveringly bright, fueled by the steadfast determination of a son who refused to let his mother's memory fade into obscurity. For Thorne Nyker, Joanne's disappearance was more than just a cold case. It was a personal search for truth in a world shrouded in shadows. With each step he took, he honored his mother's memory. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, but Thorne remained undeterred, driven by a sense of purpose transcending time and space. As he went on a trip to know the truth about what happened to his beloved mother, he carried with him the hopes and dreams of a family torn by the cruel hand of fate. What if Joanne's disappearance was not an act of random chance, but a carefully orchestrated plot conceived by people with sinister intentions? Only time would tell as the wheels of justice turned slowly, inexorably, toward a hidden truth waiting to be brought into the light. The admission came in a hushed crackle over the radio. The search team relayed the message stating that they had found a body in a crevasse. Just like that, the frantic 9-day search for Harry Greaves, a 29-year-old British adventurer who vanished during a solo trek near Machu Picchu, had come to a tragic end high in the jagged peaks of the Peruvian Andes. For his father, Simon, back in the village of Bronigarth, Shropshire, the devastating news marked the end of an agonizing search, but also the heartbreaking loss of a profoundly philosophical son who lived with passion and wonder. The grieving father remembered Harry as someone who touched so many lives with his spirit and booming laugh, adding that the adventurous explorer would be missed by many. An inquest later confirmed the body found on April 20th was that of Harry Greaves, who had traveled to South America's iconic mountain region to celebrate his 29th birthday with an extended solo expedition through the dense jungle. A coroner ruled his death in the remote Andes was a tragic accident. The furniture maker had been backpacking for weeks with friends, marveling at Peru's natural splendors and indigenous cultures. But as his birthday on the 9th of April approached, Greaves told his companions he wished to spend it alone amongst the misty peaks, a period of solitary reflection before the next chapter of his life. His friends expected him to rejoin their party 2 days later, but Greaves never returned from his unique birthday journey. As the hours stretched into days with no sign of the experienced outdoorsman, a frantic search was launched across the treacherous Andean terrain by local authorities and the Lucy Blackman Trust, a British charity. Helicopters, drones, and scores of volunteers combed the jagged valleys and mountainsides, dreading with every passing sunset the possibility that Greaves had fallen victim to the unforgiving wilderness. They scoured riverbanks, caves, and cliff faces, finally zeroing in on his last known coordinates, an ancient Incan trail near the famed ruins of Machu Picchu, where he had separated from friends. It was there on the 20th that his body was discovered nearly 2 weeks after vanishing, having plunged into a deep crevasse, possibly while navigating the steep trails alone. Based on his remaining rations, authorities believe Greaves perished around the time of his 29th birthday on April 9th. For his father, Simon, the tragedy was a cruel bookend to a life defined by Harry's insatiable curiosity and love of the natural world. In the weeks before his fateful final expedition, Greaves had recorded poems and ruminations about life on his dad's computer, with titles like A Life Lived in Love and What It Is to Be a Man. The emotional audio files became a source of comfort for the grieving family, as they mourned a caring soul who packed more living into his 29 years than many experiences in a lifetime. The devastating accident that occurred with Harry in Peru's remote mountains remains a tragic reminder of the risks inherent to his wanderlust spirit. But his loved ones take solace in knowing he departed this world while immersed in the natural wonders he loved most. Amidst his demise, several questions linger. What drove Harry Greaves to seek solitude in the Peruvian Andes on his birthday? Could his fate have changed if he hadn't embarked on a solo journey? What thoughts and emotions were swirling in Harry's mind during his solitary reflection in the misty peaks? Regardless, one thing is sure, that in the jagged peaks and ancient trails of Peru, the memory of this young explorer will linger like the ethereal clouds brushing the mountaintops, a lasting reminder that a life lived purposefully, if cut short too soon, is one worth celebrating. Warren Meyer, 57 years old, was not your average retiree. His love for nature was palpable, a passion that ran deep within him since his youth. Born and raised in the small town of Narbathong, Victoria, Warren spent his childhood exploring the rugged terrain of the Yarra Ranges, forging a connection with the wilderness that would last a lifetime. After decades of hard work, Warren finally retired, eager to spend his days immersed in the tranquility of nature. He built a modest cabin in Narbathong, where he lived with his devoted wife, Zanette, and their 2 children, Julienne and Renee. Warren's routine was simple yet fulfilling. Each morning he would wake up to the crisp mountain air, greeting the day with a sense of purpose. He spent his days tending to his garden, hiking through the dense forests, and relishing in the beauty of the Australian bushland. But on March 23, 2008, Warren's routine was shattered by an unexpected turn of events. That morning, Warren announced his plans to go on a solo hike in the nearby Black Spur, a popular destination for outdoor enthusiasts. He kissed his wife goodbye, assuring her that he would return by nightfall. As the hours passed and Warren failed to return, Zanette's worry grew into panic. She called the police, her voice trembling as she reported her husband missing. Soon a search party was organized, combing through the dense foliage in search of any sign of Warren. Despite their efforts, the search yielded no results. Warren seemed to have vanished without a trace, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a community in turmoil. Adding to the intrigue was the discovery of a marijuana crop hidden deep within the bushland. Could Warren have stumbled upon something he wasn't meant to see? As the days passed, the mystery of Warren's disappearance only deepened. The police launched a full-scale investigation, interviewing witnesses and scouring the surrounding area for any clues. One theory that gained traction was the possibility that Warren had encountered an escaped psychiatric patient, known for violent tendencies. Could this individual have been responsible for Warren's disappearance? Despite their best efforts, the police were unable to uncover any concrete evidence. Warren's fate remained a mystery, leaving his family and friends grappling with the uncertainty of his disappearance. Rumors began to swirl in Narbathong, each one more unsettling than the last. Some claimed to have heard gunfire echoing through the forest on the day of Warren's disappearance, from March 22nd up to March 23rd, which is the day that Warren disappeared. The witnesses who relayed this information to the authorities have said that what they heard were rapid-fire and high-powered rifle shots, totaling almost 200 rounds in just over 2 hours, which caused a lot of concern. Warren's disappearance and the time of the shooting coincided with each other. However, the shooters weren't identified, which could have helped determine the truth about Warren's disappearance. Meanwhile, others spoke of a mysterious figure lurking somewhere in their area as another theory of his vanishing act. Private investigator Valentine Smith was brought in to assist with the case. His sharp instincts and keen eye for detail proved invaluable in the search for answers. Yet even he was unable to crack the case, leaving Warren's loved ones to wonder if they would ever learn the truth. In the years that followed, Warren's memory lingered in Narbathong. His family held on to hope, clinging to the belief that one day they would find closure. As time passed and the trail grew cold, Warren's disappearance became little more than a footnote in the historical records of Narbathong. His cabin stood empty, home to the man who had vanished without a trace.
Standing at the mouth of a mysterious opening in the expansive Mojave Desert, Kenny Veach felt his mind racing. As a seasoned desert explorer hailing from Las Vegas, Kenny knew he had stumbled upon a discovery that would ignite a curiosity far beyond the ordinary. It was a warm June day in 2014 when Kenny's adventurous spirit led him to the rugged terrain near Nellis Air Force Base. As he traversed the rocky landscape, his keen eyes caught sight of an unusual formation, a cave entrance shaped like a perfect capital M. Intrigued by this mysterious and unfamiliar sight, Kenny approached the cave, only to be met with an inexplicable sensation coursing through his body, a strange vibration that seemed to emanate from the very depths of the earth. Unable to shake off the unnerving feeling, Kenny retreated from the cave, his mind abuzz with questions and his heart pulsating with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Eager to share his encounter with the world, Kenny, under the username Snakebit McGee, took to YouTube, where he recounted his experience in a video titled "Son of an Area 51 Technician." Little did Kenny know that his comment would set in motion a chain of events that would propel him into the realm of urban legends and unsolved mysteries. His words sparked a torrent of curiosity among fellow internet users, who crave for more details and urge Kenny to embark on a quest to rediscover the mysterious M Cave. Undeterred by the daunting prospect, Kenny heeded the call of adventure and set out on his first expedition to relocate the cave. Documenting his journey in a video titled M Cave Hike, Kenny ventured into the desert wilderness once more, determined to uncover the secrets hidden within the rocky terrain. Despite his best efforts, however, the mysterious cave remained elusive, shrouded in the veil of the desert landscape. Refusing to be deterred by initial setbacks, Kenny pressed on, fueled by a relentless curiosity and an insatiable thirst for exploration and internet fame. Armed with a 9mm handgun and a video camera, he embarked on a second expedition, capturing every moment of his quest in hopes of shedding light on the mysteries that eluded him during his initial expedition. Kenny's fate took a different turn. Despite his expertise in navigating the desert's rugged terrain and exploring uncharted areas, his journey led him to unexpected circumstances. On November 10, 2014, as the sun set and shadows stretched across the desert, Kenny began what would be his last hike, a venture into the unknown that tragically ended his explorations. After sending a message telling his then-girlfriend that he was going on a short overnight trip, nothing more was heard from Kenny. As the days turned into weeks and Kenny failed to return from his expedition, concern grew among his family, friends, and loved ones. His disappearance made headlines, and authorities launched an intensive search to locate the missing hiker. Yet despite their best efforts, Kenny seemed to have vanished without a trace, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a trail of speculation. On November 22, 2014, his cell phone was discovered near an abandoned mine shaft. However, despite the extensive search, no other belongings or traces of Kenny were found. Conspiracy theories began to emerge, each more unbelievable than the last. Some speculated that the vibrations Kenny felt near the M Cave were the result of a government device designed to deter curious citizens from uncovering the truth hidden within its depths. Others believed the cave was a gateway to a top-secret government facility, and Kenny had stumbled upon something he was never meant to see. Despite the speculation and uncertainty surrounding Kenny's disappearance, one fact remains evident. His fate was enveloped in mystery, leaving his whereabouts unanswered. Whether he became a victim of foul play, encountered a tragic accident, or embarked on a new journey in search of adventure, one undeniable truth persists. Kenny Veach is still missing. Until he or his body is found, the mystery surrounding his disappearance will endure. The Appalachian Trail, with its rugged terrain and breathtaking vistas, beckons adventurers from around the world. Among them was Geraldine Largay, a determined hiker known as Inchworm to her fellow trekkers. Her story is one of bravery, survival, and ultimately heartbreaking loss. Jerry embarked on her journey on April 23, 2013, accompanied by her friend, Jane Lee. Their plan was to hike the Appalachian Trail together, meeting Jerry's husband along the way for supplies and support. However, fate intervened when Jane was called away due to a family emergency on June 30th, leaving Jerry to continue her journey alone. From the outset, Jerry faced challenges. She struggled with a poor sense of direction, fear of the dark, and being alone. Despite these obstacles, she pressed on, determined to fulfill her dream of hiking the trail. On the night of July 21st, 22nd, Jerry found herself at the Poplar Ridge Lean-To in western Maine, where she crossed paths with fellow hiker Dottie Rust, who captured the last known picture of her. Little did Jerry know, this would be the beginning of a harrowing ordeal that would grip the hearts of many. The morning of July 22nd dawned like any other on the trail, but for Jerry, it marked the start of a nightmare. Venturing off the trail to relieve herself, she quickly became disoriented and lost. Panic set in as she realized she was alone, surrounded by the dense wilderness of Maine. With each passing moment, Jerry's fear intensified. She attempted to send text messages to her husband George, pleading for help, but poor cell service thwarted her efforts. Desperate and alone, she sought higher ground in hopes of finding a signal, but to no avail. As the hours turned into days, Jerry's situation grew increasingly dire. She wandered aimlessly through the dense forest, her panic mounting with each step. Her journal entries paint a haunting picture of her desperation as she grappled with the harsh reality of her predicament. On August 6, 2013, Jerry penned a heart-wrenching plea in her journal. "When you find my body, please call my husband George and my daughter Carrie. It will be the greatest kindness for them to know that I am dead and where you found me, no matter how many years from now." These words, written in the depths of despair, would echo through the wilderness long after Jerry was gone. Despite her efforts to survive, Jerry's journey came to a tragic end. On October 14, 2015, her remains were discovered inside her sleeping bag in a campsite she had meticulously maintained until the very end. The news sent shockwaves through the hiking community, reigniting a sense of sadness and disbelief at the loss of one of their own. The discovery of Jerry's journal shed light on the final days of her life, revealing the extent of her struggle and the depth of her despair. Her entries detailed her attempts to navigate the unforgiving terrain, her frantic messages to her husband, and her heartbreaking plea for closure. But even in death, Jerry's spirit lives on. Her story serves as a cautionary tale for hikers everywhere, reminding them of the inherent dangers of venturing into the wilderness unprepared. As Jerry's family and friends gathered to mourn her loss, they were comforted by the knowledge that she had touched the lives of countless people along her journey. Geraldine's story is a reminder of how tough life can be and how strong people can be, even when things are hard. She may be gone, but her memory will live on as a reminder to be careful when exploring the wild and to appreciate the beauty of nature while also respecting its dangers. On September 27, 2023, Chad Palanche set out to conquer a new route in Rocky Mountain National Park. The 49-year-old man was armed with his extensive trail running experience and an unquenched thirst for adventure. Chad, who was from Fort Collins, Colorado, was no stranger to the park. He had tackled Long's Peak over 30 times, but this time he wanted to go on a different route, one that would challenge him more than any other before. This route would take him across the Continental Divide, through steep, unforgiving terrain, on and off trail. It was unlike any other he attempted before. Chad parked his car at the North Inlet Trailhead on the west side of the park and then started his journey, armed with his experience and his endurance. Around noon that Wednesday, on September 27th, Chad wrote and hit send on a quick text message saying he was near the summit of 13,135-foot Mount Alice and about 7 miles from the Bear Lake area. His adventure was going well, or so he thought. That short text would be the final communication anyone received from him. The next day, on September 28th, Chad Palanche failed to check in as expected. He was reported missing, prompting the National Park Service to launch an extensive search and rescue operation. They knew the facts. Chad's vehicle was still where the man had left it, at the North Inlet Trailhead. This was a sign that his journey had begun as planned, at least. They also knew his proposed 28-mile route was a difficult one. It included a mix of established trails and off-trail sections through steep talus slopes, something even the most experienced hikers knew to be wary of. Authorities also knew Chad had personal navigation equipment, but his device wasn't designed for emergency assistance, which further complicated the search effort. Other than that, authorities knew they were looking for a 5'7" man, likely wearing a black ultralight jacket, black running shorts or leggings, and a gray fanny pack. But were these details enough to help them find him? The operation to find Chad Palanche was massive. More than 77 rescuers, including 3 dog teams and a state drone team, scoured the park from both the air and the ground. The National Park Service closed off a portion of the park to help limit scent distractions for the dog teams. But the search wasn't without its challenges. The weather turned, hindering search efforts, with snow, ice, and strong winds hampering efforts at high elevations. There wasn't much to do. Even aerial reconnaissance was difficult due to a thick cover of clouds. On October 6, though, the weather changed again, and helicopter teams were able to conduct aerial reconnaissance, capturing photographs of the steep, rocky terrain. This in turn allowed ground teams to navigate some of the more difficult areas. But the search efforts, as massive and impressive as they were, proved futile. Authorities decided to suspend the search on October 10, 2023, after coming up dry on clues to the man's location. Chad Palanche is still missing.
It was a simple autumn day in September 2005 when Tamara Lynn Chipman, a spirited 22-year-old mother from the Wet'suwet'en Nation, vanished without a trace. Tamara, known for her enthusiastic personality and thick curly hair, had spent her childhood in the coastal town of Prince Rupert, British Columbia. Her love for adventure and her close-knit family ties defined her existence until that day when she went on a trip that would lead to her mysterious disappearance. A series of challenges and triumphs marked Tamara's life. Raised in a close family, she spent much of her youth in the company of her beloved grandfather, Jack, a skilled mechanic. Her parents' separation led her to shuttle between Prince Rupert and Terrace, where she formed a bond with her aunt, Gladys Radek. Despite the difficulties of being a young single mother to her son Jaden, Tamara maintained her feisty spirit, always ready to face life head-on. In the weeks following her disappearance, Tamara found herself in Prince Rupert, her car awaiting repairs in Terrace. On September 21, 2005, she was seen hitchhiking along the outskirts of the town, her destination set for Terrace. It was a standard mode of transportation for Tamara, a way to navigate the long distances between her two homes. Little did anyone know that this routine trip would be her last. Months passed before Tamara's absence was noticed. Her father, Tom Chipman, a commercial fisherman, became alarmed when his attempts to reach her went unanswered. It was not until early November that the tragic reality set in. Tamara was missing. With a heavy heart, Tom reported his daughter's disappearance to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, setting off a chain of events that would leave a community in shock and a family in pain. The search for Tamara was exhaustive, spanning the rugged terrain along Highway 16, known ominously as the Highway of Tears. Volunteers searched the countryside while Tom walked the highway, desperate for any sign of his daughter. Despite these efforts, Tamara remained hidden. Over time, tantalizing clues emerged, hinting at the tragic fate that happened to Tamara. Witnesses came forward recounting a chilling encounter with Tamara and 3 individuals who offered her a ride. According to their testimony, a heated argument ensued, leading to a violent argument that claimed Tamara's life. Her body, they claimed, was disposed of in a remote forest, forever concealing the truth of her demise. The RCMP, tasked with unraveling the web of lies and deceit surrounding Tamara's disappearance, launched a dedicated task force named E-PANA. Their mission, to investigate the string of unsolved murders along Highway 16, including Tamara's case. Despite their best efforts, the truth remained a mystery, leaving Tamara's family to grapple with the unanswered questions that haunted them. Tamara's disappearance cast a spotlight on the plight of Indigenous women along the Highway of Tears, a lonely stretch of road where dozens have vanished without a trace. Gladys Radek, Tamara's aunt, became a tireless advocate for justice, organizing annual walks along the highway to honor the memory of her niece and raise awareness of the ongoing crisis. For Tamara's family, the pain of her absence lingers like an unending nightmare. Her son Jaden, now a young man, carries the burden of his mother's disappearance, haunted by the void left in her wake. Tom Chipman, still reeling from the loss of his daughter, finds peace in the memories they shared, a bittersweet reminder of a life cut short. The search for answers continues as the years pass, fueled by the hope that the truth will come to light one day. Tamara's story serves as one of the many examples of the injustices faced by Indigenous women, their voices silenced by a system that has failed them time and again. In the heartache and sorrow that envelops them, Tamara's family finds strength in each other, united in their search for justice. Tamara Chipman may be gone, but her spirit lives on in the hearts of those who loved her. But as the days turn into weeks and months, The mystery of Tamara's disappearance remains unsolved, leaving her family to wonder. What if justice is never served? What if Tamara's story becomes just another tragic case in the ongoing stretch of Indigenous women lost to the Highway of Tears? The sun was peeking over the icy peaks in the southern Andes on the 5th of December in 2023 when the rescue helicopter spotted them. 3 tiny, motionless figures scattered across the snowy slopes. Ignacio Lucero, 49, Sergio Berardo, 55, and Raúl Espir, 55, were expert Argentine mountaineers who had summited some of the world's most treacherous peaks. But their daring attempt to reach the top of the remote Cerro Marmolejo volcano, straddling the rugged Chilean-Argentine border, ended in tragedy just shy of the 6,108-meter, 20,030-foot summit. As the helicopter descended through the bone-chilling 80 km/h winds, a grim scene emerged on the crevasse-laden glacier below. The climbers' bodies were scattered at least 164 feet apart, frozen in place where they had tragically succumbed to the extreme conditions. Despite their remarkable mountaineering expertise full of epic conquests, the punishing weather and treacherous terrain of this rarely climbed behemoth of a mountain had proved too formidable, even for this elite team of alpinists. For Lucero, the group leader, it was a cruel twist of fate. Known affectionately as Nacho to friends and family, the 49-year-old had survived a massive heart attack in 2011 while ascending the 163-meter Manaslu Peak in Nepal's Himalayas. After battling back from a stroke and years of intensive rehab, the indomitable guide from Mendoza had notched over 60 successful expeditions across the globe, including scaling North America's 6,190-meter Denali and the 6,893-meter Ojos del Salado volcano in Chile without supplemental oxygen. Just months before their fateful Marmolejo trek, Lucero had delivered an inspirational TED Talk, recounting his remarkable recovery from his health crises and the life lessons of making the impossible possible. Despite the inherent dangers of his passions, his wife Fernanda and young son Salvi had become accustomed to Nacho's extended absences in pursuit of high-altitude adventure. On November 29th, Fernanda received a message from her husband saying the team had reached Camp 3 at 4,800 meters after an arduous 13-hour climb over treacherous crevasse fields and crumbling volcanic rock. It would be his last communication before the alpinist pushed for the summit, parting ways with 2 Chilean guides who had turned back due to deteriorating blizzard conditions. When no further updates came from Lucero's GPS locator above 5,800 meters, Chilean search teams sprang into action, braving the sub-zero winds and driving snow to scour the remote peak for the missing climbers. However, dense clouds and storms forced the initial rescue operation to be suspended after 3 days. Finally, on December 5th, a break in the weather allowed a helicopter to spot the tragic scene high on Marmolejo's flanks. Among the dead was Raúl Espir, who had recently been re-elected mayor of General San Martin. The third victim, Sergio Berardo, was considered the least experienced of the group, but had been lured by the thrill of scaling one of the world's southernmost 6,000-meter mountains, just miles from the Antarctic coast. In a heartbreaking ending, Fernanda revealed that her husband's final message was telling her and her son that he would begin his journey. This was his way of saying goodbye to her and Salvi, an acknowledgement that he was embarking on his final adventure to the heavens. The immense risks of Lucero's audacious pursuits were always lingering, but perhaps never so starkly as they were on the unforgiving slopes of Marmolejo. Why do elite mountaineers like him continue testing the limits, even after brushes with death? What drives them to take on nature's deadliest challenges when safer adventures await? And how do loved ones cope with the perpetual uncertainty of such an obsessive passion? Perhaps the answers to these questions would forever remain in the hearts of the departed thrill-seekers, braving the risks of mountain climbing. Conrad Whitlock, a retired Scientologist, was on the edge of uncertainty on the morning of July 28, 2019. At 72, he was a man of routine, his days punctuated by the monotony of suburban life. However, beneath his seemingly normal life lurked a restlessness, a yearning for something more than the tiresome routine that he has been living every single day. His decision to go into the expanse of Mount Buller was covered in mystery, known only to him and the silent peaks that watched over his departure. The events leading up to his disappearance offer scant insight into his motivations, leaving behind a trail of speculation and unanswered questions. The night before his vanishing act, Whitlock went to bed early, mentioning his plans for his upcoming tests the next morning. His wife, Mandy, recalled his whispered words. Little did she know those whispered words would be the last she'd hear from him. In the early morning, Whitlock's BMW drove through the dark streets of Sandhurst. Its headlights lit the way as he headed towards the high country. The E-tag on his vehicle activated, recording his trip. By 6 a.m., Whitlock had breached the gates of Mount Buller Resort. His arrival did not go unnoticed. His presence was noted by vigilant motorists as he navigated the winding roads that snaked their way up the mountain. But as the sun climbed higher in the sky, Whitlock's trail grew cold. By 10 a.m., his BMW stood abandoned by the roadside, keys dangling from the ignition. The ensuing days witnessed a frenzied search effort, a desperate attempt to unravel the mystery of Whitlock's disappearance. Police, forestry workers, and search specialists scoured the unforgiving landscape, their efforts hampered by the dense vegetation and treacherous terrain of Buckland Spur Track. Peter Towner, a former detective intimately familiar with such cases, painted a grim picture of Whitlock's fate. He speculated that a head injury sustained in a recent racing mishap, incorporated with the use of unauthorized painkillers, plunged Whitlock into a haze of confusion and disorientation. For Whitlock's wife, Mandy, the passage of time brought little solace. Her husband's abrupt departure defied logic, leaving her grasping for answers amidst a sea of unanswered questions. Did the headaches that plagued him hold the key to his disappearance? Was it a stroke of fate that led him astray, or something more sinister? As the years stretched on, Whitlock's fate remained a haunting mystery, but Whitlock was not alone in his vanishing act. 4 local residents in the foothills of Mount Buller reported sightings of a man fitting his description, adding another layer of intrigue to an already perplexing case. Inspector David Ryan, tasked with unraveling the tangled web of clues surrounding Whitlock's disappearance, expressed cautious optimism amidst the uncertainty. His words, tinged with a sense of urgency, underscored the gravity of the situation as the search entered its 3rd day. Despite the relentless efforts of law enforcement and search teams, Whitlock remained elusive and his whereabouts unknown. Over time, the speculation surrounding his fate only increased, leaving those left behind to deal with the uncertainty of his disappearance.
After spending 3 weeks in solitude deep within a cave nestled in the Indian Himalayas, Justin Alexander Shetler emerged with a renewed sense of purpose coursing through him. As he returned to the village of Kalga in the Parvati Valley, his mind brimmed with fresh determination, ready to pursue a new goal. Justin was an adventure aficionado, widely recognized for his daring escapades and survival skills, thanks to his massive social media following. His life story mirrored the diverse landscapes he explored. From cruising across America on a motorcycle to finding solace in the serene temples of Thailand during his monkhood, and even displaying acts of heroism in Nepal's rough terrain. Justin's life was a collection of stories brimming with courage and curiosity. On August 13, 2016, Justin's inactive social media profiles sprung back to life, offering glimpses of his cave adventures. His followers, hungry for more, were drawn in by his tales of meeting a sadhu named Satnarayan Rawat. Accompanying his stories were snapshots of the ascetic, serving as proof of their chance encounter and the fascinating simplicity of Rawat's lifestyle. Rawat was known for his extreme renunciations and ascetic lifestyle, and he shared his wisdom with Justin during their time together. Inspired by the sadhu's teachings, Justin embarked on a new journey to accompany Rawat on a pilgrimage deep within the heart of the Himalayas, where they planned to meditate in the shadow of towering peaks. With determination driving him forward, Justin made his way to retrieve his motorcycle near Kalga, gearing up to gather supplies for the challenging trek ahead. Despite the Parvati Valley's popularity among pilgrims and trekkers, Justin couldn't shake off the unsettling history of tourists disappearing into its wilds, a thought lingering in his mind as he prepared for the expedition. Joining fellow travelers Andre Capone, Christopher Lee Humphreys, and Vilas Bambru, Justin gathered to seek advice and discuss his plans for the upcoming journey. Bambru, who had a transformative experience at Montalai Lake, shared his insights, while Gapon and Humphreys expressed concerns about Justin trekking with Rawat. Despite their skepticism, Justin proceeded with his preparations, meticulously selecting only the essentials for the journey ahead. With minimal supplies in his day pack, a thin sleeping bag, a metal cup, and his trusty machete, he embarked on his adventure. Dressed in khaki hiking pants, a Tibetan-style shirt, and a lightweight down jacket. Justin's meager belongings included dental floss, a testament to his resourcefulness and confidence in his abilities in the wilderness. During the early stages of their journey, Justin and Rawat were joined by a porter. However, since Justin and Sadhu intended to spend a few days at their current location, they sent the porter back the following morning after breakfast. On their return journey to Polga, Justin and Rawat traveled together until Takur Kwan. From there, their paths diverged, with their next rendezvous point set for Tunda Bush. They agreed to walk separately, with the plan to reunite at Tunda Bush. However, according to Rawat, Justin never arrived at the agreed-upon destination, prompting Rawat to continue the journey alone. Days turned into weeks, and still there was no sign of Justin. His family, gripped with worry, launched a desperate search for their missing son. Suzanne Reeb, his mother, and a family friend, Jonathan Sleeks, journeyed to Kulu, lodging a missing persons report with the local authorities. Yet despite exhaustive efforts by police and search teams, Justin remained elusive, his fate shrouded in speculations and mystery. As suspicions of foul play grew, attention shifted to Rawat, the mysterious Sadhu who had journeyed with Justin on his unfortunate adventure. Rawat's unwavering claim that Justin hadn't made it to their agreed meeting point only deepened suspicions, raising questions about his role in the adventurer's disappearance. As the investigation progressed, Rawat, overwhelmed by suspicion, tragically took his own life, further shrouding the truth in a veil of secrecy. The case, riddled with ambiguity and unanswered questions, left many pondering the mysteries hidden within the vast expanse of the Himalayas. In the end, Justin's fate remained a puzzle, a reminder of the harsh realities of the wilderness and the irresistible pull of the unknown that draws adventurers into its depths, sometimes never to return. Melissa McDevitt was a remarkable woman who had an insatiable love for the great outdoors. Despite battling a rare disorder that often left her fatigued and in pain, she refused to let it hinder her adventurous spirit. From a young age, Melissa found solace in the wilderness, escaping the harsh realities of bullying and discrimination she faced in school. Nature became her sanctuary, a place where she felt truly alive and free. As she grew older, Melissa's passion for exploration only intensified. Armed with her camera, she embarked on daring expeditions to some of the world's most remote and untouched landscapes. From the rugged mountains of the Rockies to the lush rainforests of South America, Melissa captured the raw beauty of the natural world with breathtaking precision. Her photographs told stories of wilderness and awe-inspiring vistas, captivating the imaginations of all who beheld them. In December, Melissa set her sights on Vancouver Island, eager to experience its rugged beauty firsthand. It was a crisp winter morning when she embarked on her solo hike, the air tinged with the promise of snow. Melissa had planned to return home for the holidays after her adventure, but fate had other plans in store. Hours turned into days, and Melissa failed to return from her hike as scheduled. Concerned, her family reached out to the authorities, sparking a massive search and rescue operation. Volunteers from across the island rallied together, combing through dense forests and treacherous terrain in search of their missing friend. Despite their best efforts, days stretched into weeks, and there was still no sign of Melissa. With each passing moment, the weight of uncertainty grew heavier, casting a shadow of despair over the island community. Yet they refused to give up hope, clinging to the belief that Melissa would be found alive and well. Months passed, and still Melissa remained elusive. Yet the search persisted, fueled by unwavering determination and a shared commitment to bringing her home. Then, almost a year after her disappearance, a breakthrough occurred. A hiker stumbled upon Melissa's cell phone buried beneath a pile of leaves, a small but significant clue in the search for answers. Hope was rekindled, and search teams redoubled their efforts, scouring every inch of the island with renewed vigor. Their tireless dedication paid off when, at long last, Melissa's remains were discovered hidden deep within the dense forest. It was a bittersweet moment, a mixture of relief and sorrow for those who had tirelessly searched for her. The news of Melissa's fate echoed across the island, leaving a mark on all who had known her. Her family and friends were devastated by the loss, yet comforted by the outpouring of support from the community. Strangers became allies, bound together by a common goal: to bring Melissa home. In the aftermath of her passing, Melissa's memory lived on in the hearts of those she had touched. She was remembered not only for her adventurous spirit and love of nature, but also for her courage in the face of her challenges. Her photographs served as proof of her passion for exploration, inspiring others to seek out the beauty of the world around them. Patricia Wu Murad woke up early on April 10, 2023. The 60-year-old, whom friends called Patty, was on vacation. She had left her home in Connecticut and was now on a solo hiking adventure in Japan, exploring the ancient trails of the Kumano-Kodo. It was meant to be one of her final treks before meeting up with her husband, Kirk Murad, and going on a trip to Spain in June. Patty was no stranger to adventure, especially if said adventures involved going on treks along breathtaking trails. She had embarked on countless journeys on her own, from Spain to Jordan. She loved meeting new people on these routes. She loved exchanging stories and forging connections that would last a lifetime. Patty was a trusting person, which helped her make new friends everywhere she went. This time she was exploring Japan's spiritual trails. She aimed to hike from the Mondokoro guest house in the little town of Higashiomi to Osaka, where she was going to meet up with some friends from Connecticut. She also had a room booked at a hostel in Osaka. It was a long journey, one that would take about 9 hours on foot. That's why Patty woke up at 7 a.m. on that Monday. She was excited for her hike and couldn't wait for it to start, even though she had been experiencing some upsetting toe pain, which she had told Kirk about 3 days before. After waking up, Patty went to check out of the Mondokoro guest house. The guest house's owner, a respected member of the local community, offered to walk Patty to the trailhead. He always helped tourists start their journey. Soon enough, they arrived at the trailhead and they parted ways. Patty made her way through the dense forest and was soon out of sight. Hours later, in Osaka, Patty's friends started to worry. It was already late in the evening, and there was no sign of the woman. When she failed to check into her hostel, alarm bells started ringing. Japanese authorities were notified about her disappearance. Searches began immediately, with Japanese police, volunteers, and even American rescue teams combing the trails and surrounding areas. Patty's husband, Kirk Murad, was notified about the woman's disappearance on April 13th, after the police's initial 72-hour search concluded. Kirk and the couple's children traveled to Japan to take part in the search themselves. They were also able to hire their own search and rescue team to supplement the search efforts. Helicopters buzzed overhead, drones scanned the terrain, and sniffer dogs scoured the trail. But Patty was nowhere to be found. Despite everyone's efforts, there was no sign that Patty had ever entered the trail she was supposed to hike. The lack of evidence made Japanese authorities call off the official search on May 7th. Mountain Works, a local rescue team, held out a bit longer, but they stopped by the end of May. Patty had disappeared into thin air. Kirk and one of his daughters, Murphy, decided to attempt to track down cell tower data, but even they knew the lack of evidence was discouraging. They even stopped accepting donations through the GoFundMe campaign they'd set up when Patty disappeared. Kirk Murad now believes that something sinister happened to his wife. He thinks Patty might have accepted a ride from someone she shouldn't have. He believes she was abducted and never even began her hike, but there are no suspects.
Janine Vaughn, a vibrant 31-year-old woman from Bathurst, New South Wales, led a life of laughter and adventure. Born and raised in the tight-knit community of Bathurst, Janine was known for her outgoing personality and love of sports. From a young age, she excelled in netball, basketball, and softball, her competitive spirit driving her to new heights of achievement. As she grew older, Janine's passion for sports led her to participate in local leagues and tournaments, where she quickly gained a reputation as a powerful opponent on the court. Despite her athletic expertise, Janine's true joy lay in the simple pleasures of life, spending time with friends, exploring the beauty of the Australian countryside, and immersing herself in the vibrant culture of her hometown. With her infectious laughter and boundless energy, Janine was a beloved figure in Bathurst, cherished by all who knew her. On the evening of December 7, 2001, Janine went out to the Metro Tavern, a popular local bar known for its lively atmosphere and bustling crowds. Accompanied by friends, she embraced the spirit of the night, her laughter mingling with the sounds of music and conversation that filled the air. As the hours passed and the night grew late, Janine found herself drawn to the promise of adventure that awaited her outside the confines of the tavern. It was shortly before 4 a.m. when Janine stepped out into the cool night air, her senses heightened by the thrill of the unknown. As she approached a red car parked outside the Metro Tavern, a sense of anticipation coursed through her veins, mingling with the electric energy of the night. In a fleeting moment captured by the unblinking eye of CCTV, Janine vanished into the darkness, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and shattered hopes. The days that followed Janine's disappearance were filled with anguish and uncertainty, as her family and friends struggled with the reality of her absence. Despite extensive investigations by law enforcement agencies, Janine's fate remained a mystery, her whereabouts unknown and her fate uncertain. For Janine's sister, Kylie Speldy, the passage of time only deepened the wounds left by her sister's absence. Each day brought new challenges and doubts, yet Kylie remained steadfast in her search for answers, refusing to give up hope that Janine would return home one day. As the years stretched into decades, Janine's disappearance cast a long shadow over the community of Bathurst. As the investigation into Janine's disappearance continued, theories abounded as to what may have happened to her on that tragic December night. Some speculated that Janine may have been the victim of foul play, lured into the red car by a stranger's charm. Others suggested that she may have willingly entered the vehicle, seeking an escape from the pressures of her everyday life. In March 2019, a glimmer of hope emerged as authorities announced a $1 million reward for information leading to Janine's whereabouts. However, as the years stretched on and the trail grew colder, the truth remained a mystery, forever out of reach for those left behind to mourn. The sun had just begun to dip behind the towering peaks of the Andes Mountains when the unthinkable happened on July 7, 2022. Alan Dawson Miles, a 22-year-old British tourist on a hiking adventure with friends, slipped and fell 65 feet down a steep ravine. A joyful excursion in one of the world's most breathtaking locations instantly became every traveler's worst nightmare. Miles and his companions were exploring the stunning vistas near the ancient Incan ruins of Machu Picchu when the tragic misstep occurred. The remote mountainside trails that weave through the Andes offer spectacular panoramic views and pose serious hazards for the unprepared or unlucky hiker. The group was just taking in the incredible scenery when one of them looked over his shoulders and noticed that Alan was gone. Suddenly, Alan slipped through the edge of the cliff and hit the rugged ground with a resounding thud. The group was instantly shocked upon witnessing the tragedy unfold before their eyes, but the initial shock was turned into a frantic bid to save Alan. Evans and the other hikers frantically raised the alarm, but the remote location challenged summoning emergency assistance. By the time rescue crews were able to locate and airlift the gravelly injured Miles to a hospital in Cuzco, excessive blood loss and catastrophic head injuries had left him in hypovolemic shock and clinging to life. Dr. Carlos Ramirez, the attending physician, solemnly delivered the devastating prognosis. Alan Dawson Miles suffered a severe skull fracture and sudden trauma to the head that caused irreparable damage. Despite the team's best efforts to stabilize him, the injuries proved too severe. He passed away shortly after arriving at the hospital. In a statement, the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, confirmed that Miles's family had been notified of the heart-wrenching loss. The Bureau extends our deepest condolences to the family. It immediately confirms that their staff in Peru remain in close contact with local authorities as they investigate the circumstances surrounding this tragedy. For now, more questions than answers remain about the fateful hiking trip turned calamity. What caused the experienced hiker to lose his footing on the trail? Were proper safety precautions and gear employed for the inherently risky activities? And perhaps most haunting, could this devastating outcome have been prevented? The ancient Incan citadel of Machu Picchu, the bucket list destination that lures thousands of tourists to Peru yearly, now casts an air of sad irony. The iconic granite structures built to outlast the ages briefly served as a stunning final panorama for a young traveler whose life was tragically cut short by the awe-inspiring but unforgiving mountains themselves. As the local police investigation into Miles's death presses forward, the family he leaves behind is left grasping for answers amidst their all-consuming grief. While each perilous adventure holds unforeseen risks, no loved one should endure a knock on the door delivering a parent's worst fear, that a joyful journey of discovery instantly turned fatal. So we are left to wonder, is pursuing life's breathtaking vistas and exhilarating thrills worth immense risks? Where is the line between embracing the wanderlust of adventure travel and reckless overconfidence in conquering the hazards of Mother Nature? Tragic stories like that of Alan Dawson Miles, a life abruptly extinguished in one of the world's most beautiful yet deadly settings, starkly raise those somber questions. It was March 19, 2020, when Russell Hill, an experienced 74-year-old bushman, went on a camping trip collecting his companion, 73-year-old Carol Clay, from her home in Pakenham. Their destination, the secluded Wanangata Valley in the Victorian Alps, a remote and rugged terrain situated nearly 300 kilometers northeast of Melbourne. Russell, known for his expertise in navigating the wilderness, and Carol, a discreet member of the Country Women's Association, shared a secret love affair hidden from their families and friends. Their trip into Victoria's wilderness was a hidden escape, a chance to be together away from the pressures of their everyday lives. Russell had spent most of his life in the bush, mastering survival skills among the towering trees and winding trails. Born and raised in the countryside of Victoria, he developed a profound connection with the land, finding peace in its beauty. His bushman skills were unmatched, honed through years of experience and a deep understanding of nature's rhythms. Carol, on the other hand, was a devoted member of her community, known for her tireless work with the Country Women's Association. Widowed at a young age, she devoted herself to her children and grandchildren, finding fulfillment in serving others. Behind closed doors, however, she harbored a secret longing for adventure, a desire that led her into the arms of Russell Hill. As they went deeper into the wilderness, away from prying eyes, speculation swirled about the true nature of their relationship. Were they escaping the confines of societal judgment, or were they merely seeking peace by exploring nature by themselves? Days passed without contact. On March 21st, a passerby stumbled upon their campsite, only to find it ravaged by flames. The once tranquil retreat now bore the scars of a sinister event, leaving authorities puzzled and the public in a state of bewilderment. The investigation into their disappearance was a mess of weird clues, each one making the whole thing even more confusing. They found a missing drone, a burnt-out campsite, and inexplicable items scattered amidst the ashes painted a picture of intrigue and suspicion. Speculation ran rampant. Was it a tragic accident, an encounter with foul play, or perhaps a simple romantic trip gone wrong? Former airline pilot Greg Lynn emerged as a central figure in the unfolding drama, charged with the murders of Russell Hill and Carol Clay. The police pieced together a harrowing sequence of events, alleging a confrontation over a drone that turned into a deadly argument. In an alleged report of the incident, Russell and Carol may have been flying a drone within the area of their campsite, and Greg Lynn was annoyed by it, which prompted him to confront the couple, causing him to shoot Carol with his gun and stab Russell to death. However, all of these statements still weren't proven true, since the police couldn't get a firm statement from Greg Lynn, as all alleged details reported were disputed by him. As the case unfolded, the public remained transfixed by the chilling narrative, captivated by the allure of the unknown. Each revelation brought forth more questions than answers. The case of Russell Hill and Carol Clay is not just a story of two individuals who vanished into the wilderness. It is a tale of intrigue, betrayal, and the enduring search for truth. Chelsea Grimm, a 32-year-old woman from San Diego, California, has been missing since September 28, 2023. She was last seen in Williams, Arizona, during a cross-country road trip. The circumstances surrounding her disappearance remain unclear, and her case is currently classified as missing. Grimm set off on her journey on September 24, 2023, intending to attend a wedding in Connecticut. Accompanying her was her pet bearded dragon, Roz or Roxy. Originally, she planned to fly to the wedding, but the airline's refusal to accommodate her pet led her to decide to drive instead. On September 27th, Grimm arrived in Phoenix, Arizona, where she met her sister and a friend. The following day, she canceled plans for lunch with the same friend. Later that day, she was seen at a motel in Seligman, attempting to book a room. Witnesses described her as disoriented when she tried to pay with euros instead of U.S. currency. Grimm contacted her parents from the motel, informing them that she would not make it to the wedding in Connecticut due to the trip taking longer than expected. She expressed her plan to camp nearby for a few days before returning to California. On September 28th, a police officer found Grimm's vehicle parked near a war memorial in Williams County, Arizona. She explained to the officer that she had become emotional after taking photographs for a lost soldier project and did not want to drive while upset. The officer suggested some safe places for her to camp, including the Love's truck stop near a gas station. On September 30th, a woodcutter spotted Grimm near Ashfork, Arizona, where she was camping in her car. She did not appear to be in distress or in need of help. Since then, there has been no contact from Grimm. On October 3rd, hunters found Grimm's white 2019 Ford Escape SUV, abandoned in the middle of Forest Service Road 6 in Kaibab National Forest, northeast of Ashfork, Arizona. The vehicle had 2 flat tires. The following day, Grimm's parents filed a missing persons report with the Phoenix Police Department when they were unable to reach her. Grimm's wallet, cell phone, sleeping bag, and bearded dragon were missing, but some clothing and a camera were left behind in her car. The car was locked and showed no signs of a struggle. There has been no activity on Grimm's phone records, bank account, or social media since her disappearance. The police found no evidence of foul play in Grimm's disappearance. The case seems to be leading to a dead end with no new leads. Despite the lack of evidence of struggle, many have shared their thoughts and theories about Chelsea's mysterious disappearance. Some believe that Chelsea Grimm was in some kind of mental health crisis due to her distressed and confused state, because as a photographer, she would not have left her camera in the car when she left. Others believe that she had met with someone and that there was a possibility of her being abducted, probably the reason of the euro bills instead of the dollar bills when she tried to pay. While others believe that the case is simply just like many others. She had her tires deflated, and outlaws used this as an opportunity to mug her or kidnap her. In response to these theories, the Grimm family took matters into their hand when they hired a private detective to assist the police in the search. But so far, these efforts have been unsuccessful. The mystery of Chelsea Grimm's disappearance continues to baffle everyone involved. As the investigation continues, her family and friends hold on to hope for her safe return.